Welcome to the Labour Force. I am Bongeni Mutwa. The CCMA has sounded the alarm on the escalating level of retrenchments in the country. Speaking at the CCMA's annual Labour Conference in Johannesburg yesterday, CCMA Executive Director Cameron Morajane said the Labour Dispute Resolution Body is currently inundated with retrenchment notices by companies across the economy. The flood of Section 189 notices comes as the economy has fallen into a second recession in as many years, having contracted by 0.8% in the third quarter last year, followed by a much deeper contraction of 1.5% in the last quarter ending in December. With more and more people falling out of work, the country's already high rate of unemployment and poverty looks set to get worse. The Executive Director of the CCMA, Mr. Cameron Morajane, joins me now to discuss this matter further. Mr. Morajane, it's a pleasure to have you, but unfortunately it's not a happy topic we're talking about.
No, absolutely.
How bad is it?
It's quite bad, actually. You know, the attitude that we adopt as a commission is that one job lost is one job too many. But if you are dealing with thousands of them, then we have a crisis. Almost every day you get requests with regards to assistance. But there's certain important principles, I think, and also the realities that I must clarify to answer the question to show how bad it is. It will be a big mistake for us to measure the number of job losses that we have if we just base them on the large-scale dismissals. It's important that the viewers understand the difference between the large-scale dismissals and the small-scale dismissals. But both of them, they become dismissals. The dismissals is a concept. It's called a no-fault dismissal. It means that it's a dismissal that happens not because the employee has done something wrong, but it happens because of the operational requirements of the company. If the retrenchment, for example, is about 10 or less people, normally the employers or the trade unions do not approach us and ask us to facilitate and assist in saving those jobs. But if it's a large-scale dismissals, then we get those specific requests from the enterprises, including unions, and saying, look, we're facing 10,000 jobs that are on the line, and we are of the opinion that those jobs can be saved. Can you please assist? Then we get that referral. Then we appoint our specialist commissioners to engage in the facilitations of those type of retrenchment or possible retrenchment. Of greatest importance to understand also is that when it comes to retrenchments, when you get a notice that says you are likely to be dismissed, it must never be considered as that it is done and it's complete and it's over. It's a likelihood, and that's why we become relevant for us to get involved, to try to save, because it's a possibility. Then we look at the reasons why there's this call or there's this possibility of a retrenchment. So the figures that you normally see are figures just are largely based on figures of the large-scale dismissals. We have a few that come, you know, from the small scale. But the problem is that the numbers that you see and the one we're talking about is the large scales. But there's a number of those that are happening which are small scales in different sectors right across the country. And how do we see that? It's because most of them, once people have been dismissed, we get referrals, but this time it's not about a possibility. It's when the retrenchment has happened and it's confirmed. And now we're asked to test whether that retrenchment that occurred, it's fair in terms of procedure and in terms of substance as well. So if you look at that picture, then it's not a good-looking picture.
How crucial is it that, well, all companies, employers, and even employee representatives, trade unions, actually, when the need for layoffs arise, that they get you involved? How crucial is that?
It's extremely crucial. First is because we have the expertise, right? Number two, because we don't work alone, we work with other important entities of government, specifically the Productivity SA. Productivity SA specializes in turnaround solutions. So if the enterprises have problems which are operational, it does help when we bring in such experts in the equation to look at that. And we do that jointly together with them. And also we can have a true picture of all these type of dismissals. And that when we're talking about numbers, we're giving a global picture that shows right across sectors and also including the small ones, even the large one. So it is important if from the point of view of giving the survival of the company, from the turnaround strategy point of view. And secondly, to mitigate the number of persons or avoid any employee being dismissed as a result of that. And it's somebody independent coming from outside and using the expertise more than just the CCMA. So it is extremely important for us to do so, not only for the enterprises and the employees, but for the economy as well in terms of our triple crisis that we're having.
Now you say, as these retrenchment notices, these Section 189s, come through almost on a daily basis. I understand even yesterday, as you were speaking at the conference, quite a number of Section 189 notices were coming through to the office.
That's correct.
But you say when this happens, workers who may be affected by this shouldn't despair. Please explain.
Because of the very reason that by law, when an employer issues a notice, which is called 189-day notice, it must be that there's a likelihood to be retrenched. Not that when you get the letter, it's done that you're retrenched. And then you put that problem in the hands of experts to try to save those jobs. Because panic won't help you. But if there's a possibility of us saving, like we did in the 2018-2019 financial year, there were about, on those that referred to us, we had about 38,000 employees facing retrenchment, and we managed to save almost 14,000 of those jobs through the same process. So those that were saved, for example, when we say don't panic, they're benefiting from that. And that's the type of engagement and intervention that we believe is important. Last year in October, the president actually prioritized this issue because we used to have a scheme called the training layoff scheme. Now it's called the Temporary Employment Relief Service. That is that the president has actually prioritized the issue of job losses to say, let's do our best and use the resources we have to save the jobs. If you can save 1 out of 10, if you can save 15,000 out of 30, then we're making good progress. We know that the economy is bad. We know that we don't have the magic wand to save everybody. But I think mitigation is important. So that's why I'm saying that employees must not panic. Now,
in terms of what we're seeing happening at the moment, we know that it's mainly because of the weak economy, low growth, the recession and everything. But we are watching a disaster unfold, a new problem altogether now of corona.
Yes.
Its impact, it's something that is being discovered as we go along. No one really knows where things are going.
That's correct.
From where you sit, how do you see, what kind of pitfalls are you looking at?
I'm very worried about that, especially from the discussion we just had about the job losses. The way I see it is that all the sectors, especially like your tourism, that are affected by the coronavirus, the impact of that you will not see now. But we are going to find different type of disputes that I foresee. Part of those is the sick leave one. If you read the reports and you listen to the experts of the World Health Organization, they said that part of the ways of preventing corona is that if you feel that you are not well, especially if you've got flu symptoms, stay at home because there's a likelihood that you may have been infected. It may be just ordinary flu. But if somebody take a conscious decision that I'm not going to work because I'm listening to this health advice, you might later be charged and say you did not come to work, but you say, but I was listening to the advice. Then you get somebody who's charged, you get a final written one. If sometimes get dismissed, it's a possibility. The second one, those companies whose income is dependent on foreign investment and they're not getting the returns or the investment as expected, then the likelihood exists that we'll say, well, in the period of 2020 up to the third or the whatever quarter, we've lost so many millions, as a result of which we have to now restructure because we can't afford now. So you have a possibility of retrenchment that comes there. A possible case also has to do with occupational health and safety, because an employee can raise a grievance and said, my employer has failed to take appropriate action to prevent me from being infected with coronavirus, if you find someone who's infected or a family relative. Now you have a new dispute that is brought on. Somebody said, you should have acted in terms of occupational health and safety. The problem with this is that if you have job losses as a result of that, any other jobs, and you've got a scheme that we're talking about, which is a presidential program that is intended to save jobs, if UIF, as a party to this process, if it's not getting income from existing employees, it means its fund is going to dry up. Then we don't have resources to also assist in terms of our schemes.
Mr. Morojane, thank you very much for making time to come and speak to us. I'm sure there's a lot more we could still talk about, but
yes,
time, of course,
is of essence.
Absolutely.
But thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's how we leave it for today. More business news after the break. Scuba from us.